Fantasy football. You might have heard about it from TV, the radio, or a friend. And if you don't have friends, fantasy football is a great way to distract yourself from the fact that you don't have friends. Now, why you should listen to anything about fantasy football is very simple. You never know when your spouse, your new boss, or your spouse's parents are going to start talking about it, and you're going to want to be able to join in on the conversation and the fun. Now, 33.5 million people worldwide played fantasy football in 2013. This number has also grown. But what Forbes released was that $70 billion was grossed off the fantasy sport in 2014. This number is expected to grow exponentially throughout the next couple of years. I personally average about $2,000 per year that I play fantasy football, and I've played for about 7 years. Now, not only have I made financial gains off of this, but I've learned a lot about the sport. So the basics of it would have to be drafting, making lineups and matchups, scoring, and setting up your own strategy for them. Now, drafting is done at the beginning of the league. You're going to have about 14 picks depending on what kind of league you join, and your top 3 picks are the most crucial. You always want to get a running back, a wide receiver, or a quarterback. Now, whether you get 2 of each, 1 of each, only get 1 quarterback. Remember that. But it's all up depending on how you want to set up your lineup. Now, not wasting your picks is very important. Never overdraft. Don't get a defense or a kicker too early in the draft. Tight ends are risky. Just remember that. That's all I'm going to say about them, okay? Now, not overdrafting, very important. Don't get a kicker or a defense that's too early unless they're a really good kicker or defense and you've done your research. Google is your friend at all times. Yahoo, pretty good too. Just remember that. Now, to move on to setting up your matchups, there's only one thing that you're going to need other than a laptop to set your matchups, and that is a huge plate of wings. Remember, you're going to spend a bulk of your time in the matchup screen of your computer. So, setting a matchup, start your best players. The ones you drafted early, start them. They're going to be good no matter what, because they are highly coveted and they always score points. That's why you picked them, of course. It's all about your other players, the kickers, the defenses, the tight ends, who they're going up against. Is it indoor or outdoor? Or have they been injured recently? Do they have family issues off the field? This is why social media comes in to helping you right here. So remember, always do your research, always have a plate of wings. Those are the 2 things you need to know about a matchup. Now, watch your opponents closely. You never know who they're going to start. You never know what kind of changes they're going to make. You want to be prepared for this. Now, just knowing it is not important, but knowing the background of it and why they're doing it is also very important. What kind of trades they're also setting up. Just remember to stay informed and stay aware inside your league. Now, moving on to scoring. With the Handbook of Sports and Media, you can learn tons about scoring. I suggest you buy it or rent it. Not only that, scoring is very simple once you read this book. I'll give you a little bit of rundown because it seems confusing. Wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends all score the same. 10 points. 10 yards equals 1 point. So if you run 23 yards with the ball, 2.3 points. Very simple. Touchdowns are worth 5 to 6 depending on the league. That's when they cross the end zone with the ball. Now, the reason quarterbacks are a little bit misconstrued inside these leagues is because 20 yards equals a point for a quarterback. Now, why is this? It's very simple. Every single snap that the ball takes, the quarterback touches the ball every single time. More chances with the ball, more chances for points. Thus, they get muffed a little bit, and there's a little bit of a handicap on other players. Touchdowns for quarterbacks are also worth less, 3 to 4 points, but they throw a lot of them, multiple inside games usually, as long as they're a good quarterback. So, how do you look at kickers? 25 or less for yardage on the field when they're kicking it, counting the 10-yard end zone, is 3 points. 26 or more, usually 4 points, and 50 plus is usually a 5-point field goal. This is great because you're going to score a lot of points off of this. Now, what you're looking for as well is extra points. Once the team scores a touchdown, extra points are worth 1 for a kicker. Remember that. Defenses are a little bit more difficult. It comes down to turnovers, which is that interceptions and fumbles. It comes down to how many points they give up. The less, the better. And of course, touchdowns. If they score on a pick six or a fumble recovery touchdown, you're going to get more points for that. Also, special teams are mixed in there. So if you get a blocked field goal that goes for a touchdown, you're going to get points for that, which is fantastic. So always pick a good defense, or at least a defense that's not going to waste a draft pick inside the draft. Those are very crucial. Moving on to strategy, our final point. Now, in Northern Colorado, there are two professors that do sports media, and they are the kings of how to learn from this information. That would be Brendan Dwyer and Joris Dreyer, both Northern Colorado professors. They'll teach you how to use your cell phone and social media to update and strategize your team. Figure out which players are going to be injured, figure out which ones are having off field issues, and also, of course, figure out which players are not going to perform for you on Sunday. This is huge. Also, with strategy, depends on which direction you want to go. It's totally up to personal preference. Don't let other people push you around. And if you want to make a trade, make it. Just don't make a bad trade or have bad trade ethics. Nobody likes a jerk. Remember that. Now, in conclusion, fantasy football is a growing epidemic inside our country. You need to have a little bit of information just so you can talk to people about it. Because you never know when it's going to come up in your life, whether it be your boss or your spouse or your spouse's parents. This is very crucial. Now, if you ever want to have a fantasy football conversation, come talk to me about it. I don't mind if you don't like the sport. Just be informed. It's like anything else, whether it be panda bears, whales dying, or fantasy football. You should always be informed about your country.